Hello everybody, I'm Nora Burrows and today I want to use more scraps. You know using scraps is my ultimate favorite thing to do. So I thought today we would make some scrappy, wonky house blocks. And so I grabbed all of my little bits over here, and I thought that I would put these together in some houses, and I thought you might want to join me. So let's get started. We are going to start with the windows and the body of the house. So here's my window fabric, this orange fabric, and then the body of my house is going to be this brown fabric with these lovely little buds on them, little pink buds. So what we're going to do, I'm going to have two windows in my house. So I want to cut two squares out of this piece. Now I want to cut a piece of my house fabric to be about the same depth as the windows. So if I want my windows to be about this far away from each other, then I need to take into account some seam allowance. So I'm going to cut the body of my fabric right about here. Now I will sew these three pieces together. There we have it. Now I want to add a little bit of house fabric to each side of the window. So I already have one piece cut here, and then I'll cut another one for here and sew these both on. Here's the windows with the house. Let's add the door next. So I have this black and red polka dot fabric. I'm just going to cut off the bottom of it a little bit right here, and then cut off a piece of house for this side of the door and then another one for this side of the door, and sew those three pieces together. I obviously sewed a much larger piece than I needed, but I knew I was going to trim it up. Let's cut a piece of fabric to put below the windows and above the windows. So I attached the top part onto the windows. The way that I did that is I took the body of my house fabric, this one, and put it on top, right sides together on top of the window strip. Then I sewed 1/4 inch across, and when I fold this open, I'll make sure to iron. Iron is like the most important thing of any kind of quilting. So I'll make sure to iron that, but after I iron it, I'll do the same thing with the bottom. I'll put right sides together, just like this. So 1/4 inch seam here, and then when I flip it open, I'll have that. Now I can sew this piece to this piece. I've trimmed this side. Let's trim the second side. Next, we need to add some background fabric. So we're done with the house fabric, so I can put these little bits back into the scrap bin. And I'm going to use this yellow for my background. So I need to cut a piece of yellow for each side. Let's see what I have here. So what I'll probably do is just cut this scrap right in half and then put a piece on this side. Here, let's just do it. And we'll sew a piece onto the right and a piece onto the left. So let's work on the roof now. First, I'm going to want to trim up right along here, make sure that's a nice straight line. Here's the fabric I'm going to use on my roof. I always think a stripe looks kind of good for roofs. So I'm going to cut a triangle, but I'm going to cut a bigger triangle than I think I'm going to need. And then I want the roof to overhang the edge of the house a little bit, but I also need to take into account my seam allowance, so I need to go even a little farther out than I think that I do. There. What is unfortunate is I don't think I have enough background fabric to do that, but that's okay. We're gonna improvise. So let's start. I do have enough of this one, I think. Ooh, do I? Eek. Let's see. What I'm going to do in this case is sew this piece, because I need this to come down pretty far. So I'm going to sew this piece to this piece and then see what I need to do from there. Even after attaching these two pieces together, it's still not long enough to get to the top of the roof because I really need this to come all the way down here and then all the way up here. So this is part of the Scrappy life. This is why I love scraps, is I have a different yellow. Not all of your fabrics need to be exactly the same, and it's part of what makes it look kind of cool. So hopefully this will look kind of cool. We won't know until it's done. But I'm going to cut a piece of this yellow polka dot to go right up here. I'm going to attach it to this piece, and then I'm going to cut another piece to go up this way. What I'm going to do next is different maybe than you think. Next, I'm going to attach the roof to the house, and I'll tell you why. You may think that what would make more sense is to attach the background fabric to the roof, cut a straight line, and then attach this full piece to this full piece. But I'll tell you why I'm not going to do it. And the reason is then you end up with this seam line going right along here. And I would rather attach the roof and then attach the diagonal so that I have a nice diagonal line. So I'm going to do that, and you can do it however way you like because there's many ways to get to the same place. There's my roof right on there. Next, I'm going to take my ruler and my rotary cutter and cut a line right down the edge right here. And the same on the other side. I'm going to make my nice crisp line on this piece of fabric. And then attach this piece of fabric to here. So I will flip this over, right sides together. So this is the right side of the fabric and this is the wrong side of the fabric. The front is the right and the back is the wrong. And now I'm going to sew 1/4 seam. This is attached, and now I will attach this piece to here, this little nub off. Let's trim this up and see if we need to add any background fabric anywhere. And then I thought we would add a little strip of green along the bottom to kind of look like grass. So as you can see, we need to add a little bit of fabric right up here on this corner. I have this piece left over. Let's use that. So let's cut a strip of the green for the base here, and then we'll do a final trim and be done with this block. Here's my house. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna cut it down a little bit more so that there's not as much background around. It's a little bit, it'll be a little bit smaller of a block. I finished my house block. I think it's looking pretty cute, especially for a first attempt. I think if I were to make more of these, I might make the roof come out a little bit farther over the house. And in the future, I'd like to maybe do some of these again and add some details, like maybe some shutters or other things that make it a little bit more housey. But this is adorable. The other thing is, if you didn't want to mix and match fabrics for the block, like I had to do for the background, if your block is smaller, for example, if I had made my house smaller, I wouldn't have needed to do that. I would have been able to use one solid piece for the background. I actually like how it is with the two different yellow fabrics. I think that's really cool, but that's not for everybody. I intended to make this block smaller. I didn't realize how big it was going to be, and that's kind of the thing with experimenting with this type of stuff, is you kind of just start with a block and you anticipate it being a certain way, and then sometimes it turns out differently. So if you made your block smaller, you could use more scraps and not have to mix and match and that kind of thing. But thanks for joining me. Let's make more houses in the future. I think this is just the beginning. I have a bunch of ideas of what we can do for house blocks. So let's keep it going, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye. The other thing I just found is this fabric that has hearts. Let me turn that right side up. Inside of these little squares, and how cute would these be as little window panes with the little hearts in the window? Would be so cute. Anyway, here come the pictures of the house block. See you next time.